Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Polytalk EDU. Today we are having a special guest, Miss Peggy Chavez. She's the career from NLC. She's the career experience team leader. So welcome you, Miss Chavez, to this program.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I know we've talked about this project for a while, so I'm glad that the day's finally arrived that we can share some services about what we do at the Career Engaged Learning Office.
Absolutely, and thank you for taking the time out of your very busy schedule. So I want you just to kind of this is just a discussion to kind of educate the public and the students more specifically about the different services we do have at NLC. So just kind of give us kind of a rundown of all the services that you guys provide for our students.
Yes, no, yeah, I'm have the pleasure of working in the Career Engaged Learning Office. And what I like most about it is because I work with students at different levels of their college experience. And so what I mean by that, let me go over to the first slide so that it gives you an overview of the range of services. So we work with students, I feel, based off of three pillars: career exploration, career experience, and career readiness. And so for those students who are at different phases, they may visit our office for different reasons. So for example, for students who may not know what they want to study while they're in college, or they are not really sure what kind of career they have of interest or what they want to go into, then we would be working with students on career exploration. And so we have different um, assessments available that are no cost to students. And so with these assessments, students can go in, take these interest inventories, and it really helps them focus in on their interests, their likes, dislikes, helps them identify their strengths, and then provide some career matches. For other students who maybe they do know what they want to study, they do have a very clear path on the career that they want to follow, then our office, we come in with connecting them to career experience. So a lot of times it's kind of doing a test drive of that career, getting that experience in the industry, testing to see if this is an environment that you would like, and then also building that experience. So when the students graduate, they have items on their resume that they can share with employers and letting them know that they have engaged in some type of experiential learning in that sector or in that type of career. And then students who are getting ready to graduate or transfer, or maybe doing a career change, we may see them on these career readiness tools, helping them get ready for the job market, maybe building a resume or proofreading their resume, revamping their resume for our career changers, and then helping them maybe do a job search or also prepare for an interview. And so going through mock interview can be nerve-wracking, but we provide some good feedback into what can be done to improve on interviewing skills. So these are the three large areas broadly in career development that we can help students with.
Okay. Now let me just kind of feed off of that. On average, the students that do come into NLC are the vast majority of them, they have a clear path of what they want to do, or are they kind of undecided? What is your assessment regarding the average students that we have here?
I feel that many do have a clear path or somewhat of a pathway that they are following. Some may need a little honing. So, for example, maybe they would come saying, okay, well, I know I want to study business. I just don't know maybe what area within business or what to do exactly within the area of business. So we know it helps, at least we've identified a more narrow field of business, and then it's just a deeper dive in looking at the different sectors, different work environments, different tasks within business. Or a lot of them will say, well, I'm really interested in healthcare, but I don't want to do nursing necessarily. So what else is available? So a lot of times, like, they kind of have a good understanding of what sector they want to go into, but it's really just honing in to find a right career match. So that's what I've seen oftentimes. And then, but recently, I was working with a student and we did a career assessment. She was strong in so many areas across the board. So, and that was providing her, a bit of, I'm not say I don't know if anxiety is the right word, but maybe confusion into which one to go into. Students like that we often called multi-potentialites because they really do have a lot of interest, very broad interest, and they have the strengths to complement that. And so because of that, they report high on their career assessment across the board. And it really is a struggle for them to really hone in and narrow down because they like everything. So we
Right.
see some of that from time to time too.
Okay. Now for those who are kind of unclear and they really want to delve into multiple disciplines and sometimes they are in conflict with one another, what would be the good advice for them on what career path to take or what maybe associate, program to get kind of enrolled in without risking losing a lot of hours if they do transfer? Because a lot of times people, I mean, if now we have a very specific, different associate types of degrees. But I honestly, like across the United States, if undecided is a major, it'll be the most popular major in the whole United States because the vast majority 18-year-olds they want to get a degree, but they do not have a clear path of which degree they're going to have. So as an advice, which degree plan will be kind of multifaceted and they will not lose a lot of hours if they do transfer from one discipline to the next.
Yes, that's so true. In working with students, I get to hone in on, okay, well, what are the ones that you're weighing between? So for example, recently I had a student who was weighing between business marketing and graphic design. And so in that case, showing them a little bit about the flexibility. It's like, okay, well, for example, if you were to major in marketing, could you do graphic design? Well, I don't know. It depends. Do you already have those skills? Did you learn them in high school? Some high schools, they teach graphic design. Do you already know the platforms to use? Do you already have like the technical skills to back that? So then if that's the case and you do, well, marketing would be a good complement to that, I feel. But then vice versa, if you don't have those skills in graphic design, could you go into marketing but not necessarily have a degree in marketing? Yes, you could do that. Maybe a complementary degree or psychology or reading up on methods of marketing, learning on the job. So I feel like there's different ways to build those skills if they wanted to go into marketing, because it's probably a little bit harder to acquire the skills for graphic design. And so, showing students like which one is going to be the most beneficial to giving you like those hard skills that you're going to need. So in that case, kind of getting them to compare the degrees, the flexibility of the degrees, how marketable is that degree of graphic design versus marketing? What are the entry level salaries? What does the job market look like, the demand in terms of job outlook? So if one of them is maybe growing at 3%, the other one's growing at 6%, does that make a big difference into the job availability by the time that they graduate? So that may be one aspect. And for those who really have a hard time narrowing down, some universities, and for example, like UTSA, Texas A&M, San Antonio, offer degrees and bachelor's degrees that they're called multidisciplinary studies. So in terms of UTSA, I think that the students can incorporate about 3 different disciplines. And so their overall degree will be multidisciplinary studies, but then their focus within that degree, that bachelor's degree, they can select up to 3 disciplines to take. And so it's broken down. Maybe it's about 12 to 18 maybe credit hours per discipline. And so that would be one suggestion if a student really is having a hard time narrowing it down, is to maybe consider a degree like the multidisciplinary studies degree.
Okay. Now, is there any tangible benefits if the students actually they know which university they're going to transfer to? So if somebody comes in and said, I'm going to be an engineering major, I'm going to transfer to A&M, or somebody's going to study marketing at UTSA or UT Austin, is the people who actually have a more clear path regarding where they're going to wind up after they graduate from here, is there any benefits? Are there any tangibles regarding them knowing where they're going to wind up?
I believe so, because early on, those students can already begin connecting with representatives from that university. And it may make a difference in terms of maybe financial aid packages available, scholarships available. Also, some of the classes may be a little bit different. So for example, at Texas State, they may require a foreign language. So if a student is, let's say, a psychology major, if they go to UTSA may allow them to choose anything within social behavioral sciences or philosophy, culture, in that kind of discipline area. It may be pretty broad in what they're allowed to select. But at Texas State, they may specifically ask for a language. And in that case, maybe the student took intro to philosophy when they could have used that time and that credit to take the language component that Texas State was asking for, but now they have to, since they didn't, now they have to take it again at Texas State to fulfill that language requirement. So I would say, yes, it would be beneficial the earlier that the student can identify the university they want to transfer to, the better, because that way they may be able to more strategically work with their academic advisor in selecting the coursework so that they really are leveraging the courses to fulfill what the university is asking for. So I think that would be definitely one advantage. And then another one would be GPA requirements may differ. So if they are maybe on the borderline of getting into one university, but the other one is more a secure footing, then that may make a difference. A lot of times with universities, they may have a two-step process. In other words, the student has to apply to the university itself, plus they have to apply to the college in which they are entering. So for example, the College of Engineering, the College of Business. So sometimes it's a two-step process where the college may accept them with a 2.0 GPA, the university may accept them with
But the college itself does not, yes, okay.
but the college itself may have a little bit more rigorous requirements and a higher GPA, or sometimes maybe it's a more competitive program. So for example, at Texas State, in terms of physical therapy, maybe they only accept a cohort of 40 students every year. So sometimes it's actually like even program specific, that there's only a limited cohort that's accepted. So I think there's a lot of things that needs to be considered. And that's why it's good not only to work with their academic advisor to get that clarity early, then that way they can be in touch with those university representatives so that the university representatives can tell them everything that they need to know so that there's no surprises in the long run when it comes to transferring.
Okay. Now, do we, NLC and also Alamo District colleges at large, do we have any partnership with certain universities? Obviously, the obvious is like the one in our own domain is like Texas State, we got Texas, A&M and also UTSA, and the other private schools here in San Antonio. But if somebody, do we have connections also with other schools that are further in proximity, like in different states or even further down, maybe Lubbock or different kind of destinations in Texas? Do we have that kind of partnership with other schools as well?
So Alamo Colleges does belong, we call it Texas Compact. So there are probably, like you said, about 15 to 18, maybe even more since then, since the last time I had reviewed the compact partners. So let's say 15 to 20 or so universities that we do have these formal partnerships with. And I think the advantage of the formal partnership is that the personnel at our district office has already gone through and kind of like a step-by-step developing these transfer guides and in understanding with the university that, okay, so if a student is on this path and they take these classes, not only will it transfer to your university, it will also be degree applicable. And so I think that's one of the advantages. And with these, yes, they are primarily around the greater San Antonio area, Central Texas, South Texas area, and even some online. So for example, like Arizona State University, New Hampshire, in NHSU, I think, Southern New Hampshire,
Yes, yeah,
University.
Yeah.
So some of these more Wayland Baptist, so so they have a strong online program and physical presence as well. So yes, we do have a lot of these more with these more of like online universities. But in terms of outside the Texas area or greater than maybe Central Texas, I'm not sure. I haven't looked at the compact partnership in a while, but I know it was called Texas Compact. So I imagine it's mostly schools in Texas where it's going to be an affordable transfer to students with more local tuition, in-state tuition versus out of state.
Okay, all right. Now let me just kind of look at it from a faculty perspective. I mean, dealing with students on a daily basis, and then again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the program, there's a lot of students who are actually agnostic about all the services that we do provide, and a lot of it stems from the fact that the average student is a part-time student, and they come in and they come into class and they do leave, and then they don't pay attention, and also if they decided to pay attention, they get bombarded by so much information regarding everything else that we do have on campus. So too much information translates to no information because they're just not going to be able to process everything else. From your vantage point, what can we do as a community at NLC and Alamo colleges at large to kind of enhance these type of programs? Is there anything that the faculty we need to kind of do more? Or maybe, you guys can come into our classrooms or do like more fairs, because I know you have fairs and you have certain events to promote, items that we do have on campus. But what can we do to kind of spread the word, so to speak?
Yes, so you're right. Sometimes there could be so much information coming through because there are a lot of support services available to students. And I think that's the good thing, knowing that students may not need them all the time. They may not need them every semester, but those times that they do need them, they are available. One thing that we've started is Alamo Anytime, because we want to make our services available to students who maybe are just online only, or there's been I guess analysis of our websites showing that we have a high peak student traffic at around 10 o'clock p.m. Well, most of our services are closed at that time. However, one thing that I will say that Northeast Lakeview has been pretty innovative with is having our virtual team. So we do have a team within student success. We have advisors, we have representation where they are cross-trained and the different services available to students. So if a student is needing a transcript, they can log on to our virtual welcome center, and the virtual welcome center, they open, I believe, around maybe 11 or 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and they provide virtual services, and then they stay on until about 10 o'clock in the evening. And so in the evening time, or if a student is at home or has a question, they can pop into the virtual welcome center, ask those questions there, and then get those referrals as needed. For other services, yes, I would say most of the offices within student success, well, I mean, and I know my office does many presentations. We were just at a class a few minutes ago this morning, providing just a brief overview of 15-minute presentation about what our office does. We do have a career fair coming up in early March on March 6th. And so letting students know these are the services we provide. So it's a quick overview, but if something resonates with them, knowing that, okay, well, yeah, I could use some clarity, or my resume could, use a little touch up. So if something resonates with them, then they know that they can come to our office and meet with us. And we try to make it as easy as possible for them. If they want to meet via Zoom, if they're in person, they can certainly drop by. They can email a copy of their resume. We can share resources via email. So we're happy to meet them where they are. For faculty, I would say another idea, which may not necessarily be a resource that faculty is, I guess, completely aware of. One thing that we use on the student success side a lot is called Alamo Experience. And so Alamo Experience is a hub or portal where we direct students to find out about what's happening on campus. So students can connect with student organizations through Alamo Experience. They can also learn about events that are happening. So I mentioned the career fair earlier. Well, the career fair is already being promoted and advertised through Alamo Experience. If a student is interested, one of our popular or student organizations is Dungeons and Dragons. So they want to join Dungeons and Dragons. When do they meet? When's their next meeting? What are they up to? The Night Hacks is another big one. So students can go online and connect on Alamo Experience and join that portal, that organization, to express interest. And then that way they can receive emails and they can be aware of what's happening on campus. So I would say faculty can, be knowledgeable about this platform that we use to help connect students is Alamo Experience. And both employees and students have access to this platform. So if were to log on to their ACES, they go to their student tab, and if they scroll down, they'll see Alamo Experience. And same thing for employees, it's under the employee tab. And that way it's a real insight into what's happening. And not only at Northeast Lakeview, but across the district as well. Students have access to view what's happening at other campuses, because it's not unusual for our students to take maybe a few courses here, maybe one or two courses at a different campus, just to kind of maximize, their schedule, or to
Sure.
meet their needs of days and times or availability. And so they're welcome to attend events happening
Okay.
at their campuses as well.
I see. Now, these events, are we total, we have an autonomy in regards to these events, or sometimes we do like events that actually with other, sister colleges as well? Or is there any collaboration, or we just do things the way we see it to fit our students, or do we do things in lieu with other colleges?
It may depend on the office. So for example, with Student Life office, they're right down the hall from me in our Brazos Student Center. So Student Life, a lot of their events are on campus, face-to-face events. And so with those events, they would do more, like you said, independently or autonomously. For my office, a lot of our collaboration is across the college district. So for example, the career topics, again, we meet pretty collaboratively, maybe once or twice a week with the other career services offices. And
Okay.
so one of the things like I had brought up early on is like, why let's work smarter, not harder. Like if we're all presenting some of the same information, same topics, like does it make sense to, for me to do like 5 workshops, and then you do 5 workshops, and this college does 5 workshops? It's all the same topic. So let's collaborate and even have these online so that we'll all pitch in, and maybe one or two of us, we kind of rotate so that we cover all of the topics, but we make it broadly available to all of our students. And it also leverages we generally have very small teams in the career offices across the campus. So it also leverages our staffing so that we're not having to replicate a lot of these career topics. We just do them online. And we do something similar for financial literacy as well. We all just kind of pitch in, and that way it's a shared experience. And it's also convenient for students just to log on and view the webinar via Zoom.
Okay. All right. That's really very interesting. I know what you guys do. It's a lot, and then again, sometimes I have casual conversation with students, and then again, we go back to the earlier point, is the fact that a lot of students don't know that we have all these services available, even in terms of organizations that we have. We have like government associations, we have Dungeons and Dragons, as you mentioned, we have pre-law. I mean, we have a lot of things going on, and then again, the average student does not really understand exactly what these things are about. Do you also have any kind of connections with the organizations that we do have? Your office, does it work with the organizations that we have as well?
Yes, we do. So we often will go and work pretty closely with like SGA, which is Student Government Association, also with NSLS, I believe, National Society of Leadership and Success, I believe it stands
Mhm.
for, or Phi Theta Kappa. Also, with all of the officers of all of our student organizations, they meet the first Friday of every month, and for an officers roundtable. So if they hold a position within their student organization, all of those leaders will then meet in a collective for officers roundtable. So we work with them. So this semester we are working with the Student Government Association, SGA, and I believe it's every 2 weeks we're going in and we're presenting different topics. So we're going to start off like an overview of our services and career exploration. We'll have a topic on resume writing and interview and branding and like LinkedIn and how to network with employers. So yeah, we have several partnerships where student organizations will invite us in, and then also connecting with student organizations kind kind of like you said, similarly, like popping into their meetings and just letting them know, this is our office, this is what we do, this is how we can help students. And then they in turn become our advocates as well in sharing the information peer to peer, which is extremely helpful and beneficial, where they're getting a more referral through a peer rather than feeling intimidated approaching an office that they don't really maybe know what to ask or don't know how to approach things. So this way, the peers already letting them know. We work very closely with our student workers as well to also be our advocates. And so we find a lot of times peer-to-peer referral is a great resource for us, because they'll bring their friends in and then they'll ask the questions and we'll help them that way. So yes, we do work very closely with our student organizations as well, doing presentations or a more targeted approach for actual like professional development topics with them.
Okay, all right. Now we do one thing is from the faculty side, we do have like a peer mentoring program, which every faculty that participate in that program, they are assigned to one, two, or three of students that they actually coach and then talk about academics and then career paths and everything else. In your case, when you deal with students, are the meetings with the students come in at an ad hoc base, like you just meet with the students and answer their concerns and their questions, or do you establish some kind of rapport and then a continuation of that relationship? It's like a mentoring program that you do have where the students actually feel like their sense of belonging, or they just go in, get the information at an ad hoc base, and then it's the end of the story. Which one do you guys do?
Yeah, that's good. It's a good question because I feel like it's a blend of both. You're right. If many are part-time, it's very specific. They may have a very specific question about maybe student employment, and it's a very specific purpose. They come in, they get the information, and we provide them what they need, and then they're off. They may come back for a few follow-up questions, but it's very specific to fulfill a particular need. But you're right, with other students, it is more of a mentorship. And for me, those are the best kind. I have regular students who pop in my office maybe once a week, once every other week, just to stop by, say hello, and I ask, oh, how are things going? And then referring them to like student organizations. And then one of them told me recently, oh yes, I want to let you know, she was running for an officer position on 2 of student organizations. So she came by to tell me the update that she got both of the positions that she was running for. And then she was having, I guess, trying to navigate some challenges and working with one of the other student leaders, and how she communicated her approach to something. And so kind of guiding her. And again, it's really not necessarily career services directly related, but it's teaching her like more about career management, how to navigate like in a professional environment. These are all skills that she's going to take with her to the workplace when we talk about like how to resolve conflict or how to clarify things when there's a misunderstanding with someone that you are working pretty closely with. And then we were kind of like practicing like a script somewhat of like, okay, well, if that would happen next time, perhaps you could approach the situation like this, or begin with this kind of leading question. And now you practice like, how would you say that if I was the other person? And so, you're right. It really kind of does depend. But I do have in my drawer, I have a stack of like graduation announcements and thank you cards that I love to save from students who, like you said, for those students who we do develop more of that mentorship with them, we get to know them and have that relationship with them every step of the way. Those are extremely special, and I like to save memorabilia from those experiences and just kind of check in with them. I like to connect with students on LinkedIn and see what they're up to, and all of their great successes of what they're doing now after they leave Northeast Lakeview as well. So I would say those are the most rewarding, but we're just here to meet students where they're at. If it's just to ask a quick question, we can do that as well. And hopefully that we leave such a good impression on them, and we're a welcoming office that they feel comfortable coming back to us, even, in the future, if they need other services.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Now, one thing about your services and the office that you do have, do you see is there any like financial incentives, like scholarships or anything that your office does have like a incentives for the students to get engaged in certain things, aside from like the normal scholarships and then the financial aid and the grants and everything else. Do we have anything that NLC specific regarding financial rewards or kind of a token of appreciation for students' engagements?
I would say not directly any financial incentives, but I think having having a staff member who's maybe more knowledgeable. So for example, the scholarship office is right next door to my office. So, she lets me know information like, oh, by the way, the scholarship application is now open. Or if I know more I know about the Alamo Promise program. So the other day, a student had come by, and although that's not necessarily my area, I knew enough to kind of guide them and direct them to the correct area. So I think that that's also another benefit of having someone, like you said, who's more like a mentor, just to help guide them and connect them with other offices or connect them with the right individuals who are in the know, just to help open doors. As far as any other types of incentives, or like what would be the benefit of connecting with our office, I think a lot of times maybe it is just maybe specialized programs. So for example, if I know that a- I want to say a few weeks ago, there was EY on campus for Ernst and Young. So more kind of like business, accounting type students. So I knew about a site visit that was coming up. So if a student is an accounting student and happen to come by, oh, did you know that EY was having a site visit? I think that's good that you sign up. Or we have a partnership with RBFCU. So during the summer, they offer an externship. It's a one-day externship. So students who are interested in going maybe into banking and finance, it'd be good for them to kind of stop by, have that relationship with them so that we know and we can let them know about what's happening, what's going on campus. Or we have a lot of contact with employers. So we know that employers may email items to us. They may stop by, bring flyers, let us know that we're hiring, or sometimes they give bonuses for students who are onboarded within the first 90 days. So I think in that terms is just connecting them with the right people, right resources that can end up being prosperous to them and their career. It may not necessarily be in a immediate financial incentive, but I think anytime we try to make a connection, it really is for their better good. Like I said, maybe in terms of scholarship or just student support in general, or if it's over to a student organization so that they get their experience on their resume. So getting them connected. Oftentimes I have several student workers in my office. They'll come in not being a part of any student organization, but then once we work with them and get them connected, it opens up a whole world of opportunities to them. And the next thing you know, they are, going on at conferences with the chancellor to Washington, D.C. So I think a lot of it is just being connected and being very close with what opportunities are coming through for students so that we can help guide them to those opportunities. That just opens the door for them and just really, I guess, serves as a stepping stone or a jumping board over to their career of opportunities and their world of work. It's just like a great incentive in
Yeah.
itself, yeah, to open up those doors to them.
All right. Now, one thing you did mention that there's an impressive number of students who actually they know exactly what they want and they're in a career path and they know which school they're going to go to, which discipline they're going to get into as well. For those type of students, do we have anything? Let's say somebody wants to go to medical school or pharmacy or law school or engineering, and these type of programs, they do need some kind of exams, like the LSAT or the MCAT or whatever the case might be for nursing as well. Do we offer any kind of like mock exams or any connections with the schools to kind of give them a glimpse of what they're getting into? Do we have those type of support, or that's not something we do not do?
Yeah, so our school doesn't offer those particular entrance exams. Um, when I meet with students individually, and if I know like that's their long-term goal, I will recommend that to them. We may look for some practice questions on the internet, but it also helps with like their long-term planning. But then for me, the way I like to start, like I like to work with students is like for something like that, we start with the end in mind and then let's work backwards.
Okay.
I would say probably because that would be more after their bachelor's degree, their university would have probably more resources. In the past, I had worked with TLU, Texas Lutheran University in Seguin. So TLU does have a nursing program and they do offer the NCLEX exam, I believe, or the
Hmm.
TCLEX. I forgot. No, I think the NCLEX is for those who are graduating from nursing. TCLOS, something like, no, not TCLOS, that's law enforcement. Well, it
Yeah.
was like the TEAS test. I'm sorry, the TEAS test. So the TEAS
Okay.
test, TEAS, that's the entrance exam that many will go for nursing or for other health professions will need the TEAS test, TEAS. And so with that entrance exam, Texas Lutheran did open it up to students from other colleges and universities if there was space available, other apart from their own students. So that was something nice. They often would forward that information to me to let me know when the next TEAS test was coming up so that we can share that with students. At the time when I was also working with transfer advising there, we did a site visit. And so the students who ended up going, I know one in particular, he did end up transferring to TLU, and then he was kind of like I guess more of a TLU ambassador. So the next time we went, he was one of the ambassadors there and would give a tour. And then he has since finished his program there. So so we while we some of them are kind of in the works because Northeast Lakeview, we're pretty limited on the types of assessments that we offer. We don't offer like the MCAT or the LSAT. So I would say probably those would be resources that the student would be working with at the university level
Right.
as they're getting closer to pursuing post baccalaureate studies in these
Right.
professional schools.
Yeah, or those things can be accomplished within the student organization. Like right now, we're trying to get off the grant for a few times already, like the pre-law society. And then once we kind of get that one functional, because the problem is we have in a 2-year institutions, you have an organization that's really well run and everything is going well. By the time you kind of, have a goal and everything is going really well, students graduate and then you have to kind of, train the second wave of people coming in. So at some point I did talk about, I'm the advisor for SGA actually, and for also the pre-law society. And for the pre-law, once we kind of get it working what it needs to be, I already have a connections with St. Mary's University, and then we talked about offering like mock, LSAT exams, and then we can still, I mean, our institutions or the Alamo colleges allows us to kind of incorporate these things within student organizations. So maybe they're not. I mean, it doesn't, and I understand why it doesn't make sense for a 2-year college to have entrance exams for a degree that you need to have a 4-year degree to kind of get into. So I
Right.
understand the logic behind it, but we can still be ahead of the curve and then offer these type of services. I'm sure maybe there's maybe an organization maybe for people, maybe for like medical stuff going in, and maybe they can probably delve into the entrance exams for like MCATs and then nursing programs and pharmacy and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So it's not even though it's not offered by the college, but we can still kind of think outside the box and then accomplish these goals for our students who actually know exactly what they want to get into at some point in their career. All right, sounds good. Is there anything? I mean, we've been talking for like 45 minutes, and we kind of had a really good overreaching informational session to be exactly clear about this. Is there anything that we need to add or anything that we have not touched based on that you would like to share with our community here at NLC, students and faculty and staff, and the community at large?
Yeah, of course. I just wanted to highlight a few of the resources that I have on the slide. So one thing I like to kind of tell students, like an analogy, is that careers are often like donuts. So if we see this picture of the donuts, we see like, okay, well that looks like pretty. Those look all pretty enticing to me. But we can't eat all 12 in one sitting. So what are we going to do? How are we going to hone in on it? So I think kind of the same thing, like from a particular vantage point, careers can all look pretty interesting until you kind of dive deeper into like what are the daily tasks, what are the necessary requirements and skills needed, the education needed. So how can we help hone that? And then so in other words, maybe if someone knows that some of the donuts are too plain for them, or it's not, maybe it's like there's too much with the cereal and the crunch, maybe it's like too sweet. So like to kind of keep honing in, so where we can take like a possibility of having 12 donuts or 12 careers, maybe we can hone it into, we know that we really love chocolate. So now we take 12, now we're kind of focusing more on two. And I think that's pretty helpful, it's okay that a student doesn't know exactly what they want to do for the next 40 years of their life. It's okay. But, looking at the flexibility of their job, looking at the job market. So for example, I've had some students who want to go into the film industry and become like movie producers. Well, San Antonio is not a big hub for that. So they need to be aware of that. Where are the hubs? Where can they go? Are they willing to relocate? And then the same thing for some of the careers, like physical therapy has become more of the industry standard, is more of a PhD to become a physical therapist. So are they prepared for that? Are they in it for the long haul in terms of the dedication to pursue a PhD? Are they able to meet the entrance exam requirements? Are they able to finance that type of degree? So those are things that students all need to consider. One of the ways that we help them to narrow down is through our career assessments. We do have 2 career assessments. One is called Career Coach and the other is Focus 2. And these are free for students to go through, and they can save they take a short assessment, maybe a few questions. They can save their information, and it provides some career matches so they can dive deep into doing more intimate career research so that they know exactly what's happening with that job, the job outlook, the median salary, what kind of education is needed, what kinds of skills are needed, and then the daily tasks. And I think by reading that, students are able to kind of help, like, again, eliminate some that may be not a good fit for them. And then we're working with a smaller pool from there. And a lot of times there's so many, they're highly related, a lot of the ones that they're looking at. So at least we know, okay, well, what's a good degree that would match? So while you're still deciding in between these few careers, this degree is a good complement to any one of them. So it's okay if you haven't solidified that final career. This will help get you to the next step and then provide you that flexibility to go into either of these that you're considering. So I did want students to know that career assessment is free. This is an example of the types of, I guess,
Career paths, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, interest types or career types. And then it usually gives them their top 3. And then based off of their top 3, it provides these matches to the particular industry and then the career paths as well. And then within that, this is where they can take a deeper dive into looking at what's the median salary. This one is very specific. This is called genetic counselor. When I do presentations, I ask students, have you ever heard of this as a job? None of them have heard of this. So I said, again, it's like, you don't know if this is a career, a potential career, if you've never heard of it. And there's so many jobs like that. And there's so many jobs that are just rooted in technology that haven't even been created yet. So some of the times it's hard to identify because you just don't know what's out there, what's available. So this is one of those careers that not everyone has heard of, but you wouldn't necessarily know that was a potential match unless you were to go through and do a little bit more research in that.
Okay, well, that sounds interesting.
The
Now,
other
in the past, I mean, and again, we function as a one contiguous unit. At least in theory, we should be doing that. Is there any time where somebody comes in and they want to get more information about a specific career, and then do you have any connections with faculty where you can guide students to go, well, why don't you go to talk to that faculty who teaches biology or somebody who teaches astronomy or whatever the discipline is, and kind of get a glimpse, even though that's kind of that's not going to be an accurate source of information. It tells you how to kind of clear the path in getting that degree, but maybe what you want to do is not teaching. So it's kind of like halfway into what do you need to kind of be thinking about. But do we have any kind of sort of connections between connecting, like you in your vantage point, connecting the students with a faculty member so they can get more information about the career or the discipline they're going to get into? Is that something we do, or maybe we could
Yes,
do?
yes, absolutely. I think initially we help guide students. So one of the resources that I use the most, if that was the case with the student, is the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They offer a website called the Occupational Outlook Handbook. And this Outlook Handbook, it is online. It offers thousands of job titles, and many of them have similar to what I demonstrated with diving deep into more detailed description of the individual careers. It does offer that. And many of them also offer short videos, maybe like 30-second videos. And so that's really nice too for students to look through. And then of course I do have other resources. There's another resource called What Can I Do with This Major? And so it really does take one major and it breaks it down like, okay, if with this major, these are all of the different sectors that you can work in. These are some example job titles. These are the skills that you would need. These are some typical employers that would host you. And what do you need to be successful, or how can you begin developing a career in this particular sector for this degree? So yes, I do have some great resources to share with students. And then also, I am aware of the faculty mentor program, and I know where the webpage is. Oftentimes the coordinators of that program will send me an email or drop off some flyers in my office as well. And so oftentimes I have even gone through the website and say, okay, well, let's look to see who are some of the current mentors who are accepting, new mentees, and let's see if we can find a good match. And we'll go through and we'll look at some of the profiles, and then I'll help students know, like, okay, this is where you would go, this is where you would apply. So yes, you're right, I have made that referral to faculty mentors as well. So that, and then to see, like, what about our alumni base? Let's look on LinkedIn. Are there any professionals? And so I have also made those connections before to current students with professionals in the industry, so that maybe they can ask or request a little bit more information, maybe doing an informational interview, or just kind of following some of those important influencers within that industry, so that they can see what's happening and getting a better understanding of what's current in that industry and what's happening. So if there's some open events, then the students are welcome to attend mixers, things like that. So yes, it's a wide base and a variety of just different sources of information, so that student can feel fully informed and getting as much information as possible, so that they can be very confident in their decision making.
Okay, great. Now, one thing, getting to the end of this, broadcast, but do we have any, your office or any connecting offices that you do have? Do we have any like student employments, opportunities for students to work, like work studies and stuff like that? Do you oversee that, or do you see any opportunities for students to kind of work within NLC sometimes, for part-time jobs?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's a large portion of the inquiries that come through our office is related to student employment. We had such a demand in the fall that all of the allocations for work study filled up for Northeast Lakeview. So the application, financial aid, had to close the application because there was just no more positions available going into the spring semester. So it was phenomenal, I guess, that all of the positions were filled. But it was a bit unfortunate for the students who were not able to get in on time because those positions were filled. I would say there are a small handful of other positions on campus. We call them peer advisors, student ambassador positions. And so a handful of departments will host these positions. But it's up to the department. So once the position is filled, they'll hold on to that student worker for a while. Those don't come up as regularly as the work study, but they do come up from time to time. I believe there's maybe like 3 on the job posting board right now. And for those positions on campus, work study, the student ambassador positions, another program that I think we have a partnership with, which is a phenomenal program. It's called Alamo on the Job. And with Alamo on the Job, those are internships with local businesses and companies. So we have our own Alamo Colleges recruiters, and also our business executives who go out and develop these relationships with these companies to offer a 9-month internship program to students. And so with this 9-month internship program, our student workers, they get paid and they get real experience within a company. So there's a lot of great programs that we offer students, and they're all located in a centralized hub on Alamo. It's alamo.edu/jobs. So it's a pretty easy to remember website, alamo.edu/jobs. And then once students are there, there is a button or a specific portal for student employment. And that's where students can go through and start searching some of these opportunities. I have resources in our office as well where students, it's a guide, a step-by-step guide of instructions of how to find those. And we can certainly guide students through the application process as well. So yes, we do. I would say a good portion of the interest in students visiting our office is specifically towards student employment. And it's just not only do students get paid, it's also convenient because many of the opportunities are on campus, but then it's also just great work skills of what it's like to work in a professional environment and to be able to see how some of these people are modeling behavior of like, how do they interact? How do they communicate? What learning new skills like new computer programs, conducting data analysis. I have my student workers doing data analysis. And so it's nice to know that these skills can really equip you with some of the core skills that employers are looking for as well. And if I can share that really quickly, this is put together by our national association. The association is called the National Association of Colleges and Employers. And so every year, NACE, this is how we refer to it. NACE does research with employers and recruiters, asking them, what do you look for in new graduates? When you're hiring someone brand new out of recent graduates, what do you look for? And these are the 8 competencies that employers identified. Someone who's savvy in their own self-development. Can they navigate their career, their own personal career development to grow and to continue to hone their skills? Do they exhibit strong communication skills? And this can mean, can they put together a solid email that's coherent? Can they communicate effectively their ideas? Can they get up and do a quick presentation, maybe in front of a group? I know a lot of students shy away from doing presentations and public speaking, but this is a good skill to have. This, the analytical thinking, critical thinking skill, problem solving. This is a huge one that employers often see a gap in. So they rate it as very high in terms of importance, but often feel that it's not as strongly developed in many new talent. Equity and inclusion. So can students effectively navigate working with people who are different from them? Do they take initiative? Where are those leadership skills? And that's where, for example, like joining a student organization and taking officer positions, knowing how to run a meeting, conducting things judiciously. So leadership is going to be strong for employers. And that way students can put that. So if they ask that in an interview question, tell me about a time when you've exhibited leadership, students will have that reference to share during an interview. Professionalism is another big one that employers rate tends to be lacking with many of the young graduates. They say is professionalism, knowing how to navigate situations, conducting themselves professionally, just kind of taking things seriously where it's a little more of a serious tone in a work environment versus more of a relaxed tone that they may be used to from working more with their peers in a college setting. And then teamwork, working with different personalities as well, sharing things, following up with people, and then use of technology. Generally for this generation, employers are speak very highly in terms of the tech knowledge and the savviness that these young graduates have. So these are the 8 competencies that employers say that are important. And I feel like students can use their time wisely in college to begin to develop these while they're still in school, and even part-time jobs and being engaged with student organizations, having a mentor to kind of guide them through some of these. Those are all takeaways from the college experience that will just make them more marketable for the workforce when they transition.
Great. Wow, this is really a lot of really great information. I mean, and that kind of speaks volume because it's really we really are a full functional entity, and we have all these services. And I really we need to do what you guys are doing a great job. I'm just saying, like the circumstances that we do have, it's kind of like has a it makes it like a handicap a little bit to promote all those programs. And again, for the obvious reasons that we did illustrate at the very beginning, which is the fact that we do have the vast majority of our students are part-time, and then we really need to make a more effort to connect with them, and then in the classrooms, outside, and everything else. I mean, and I can testify to this personally. A lot of students, they do come in, they come into class, and then they come into campus and they wind up leaving right away. There is no sense of community, and it's not because they're lacking because of they have busy lives and they running their own lives, and they have all those responsibilities outside from school. So it kind of limits their interactions that we do have on campus. And I do believe that when you are in that type of situation, you're really getting the short end of that stick, because college is about connections. It's not just the classroom. It's like when you own in those relationships outside the classroom, they could be very beneficial in actually making your career much easier and much more clear path to where you want to wind up after you graduate from college. So and again, I can't thank you enough. I mean, it's been a long time coming. We've been trying to plan this for a long time, and sometimes scheduling and life kind of gets in the way. So I do appreciate you taking the time out of your very busy schedule, to illustrate these things. And then, is there any concluding thoughts? Any last thing you want to have to mention before we adjourn this discussion?
Of course, thank you. Well, thank you for the opportunity. Like you said, it's so much information. We generally, even an hour wasn't long enough to share all of the resources that we have,
Absolutely.
all of the platforms that we use, and just really dive deep into it's just so much. And career, it's not only just like a one-time isolated thing, it really is like a lifetime. It's a lifetime, it's ongoing. So career development is just it's an ongoing lifetime development. And so but we're here to meet the students where they're at. We don't want to inundate students with so much information that they're feeling overwhelmed. But if upon meeting with students, we can kind of see what their needs are, and then work with them a little by little until they are building to just being the most marketable candidate. And that's what we really want for our students. We want them to kind of balance like the education with their skills. It's always a balancing act. I would say years ago, there was a heavy focus on degree, more so since COVID, about during COVID and since COVID, there's been more of a push on more skills-based hiring. But I would say it's still a blend. It's still a blend of the two. And so while students are working on their degree, we also want to make sure they're working on their career competencies and skills that will make them more employable when they graduate. But we're here to meet them where they're at, and we have lots of services and resources to help them do that. So just connect with us in a low stakes environment. If students need something right now, they are welcome to come by and visit us. We're in the Brazos Student Union, room 125. They can also email us at nlc-careers@alamo.edu. Feel free to browse our website, alamo.edu/NLC/careers. Also, my student workers have been really good on Instagram and Twitter and sending out information that way. You can follow us on Instagram or Twitter at NLC Career Services. So connect with us as needed. And we're here to help you. We're here to kind of walk with you, side by side in your journey to really make you the best candidate, so that when you graduate, pretty much your ultimate goal is to launch you into your career. So we're here to do that. And also as alumni, we're here for you as well, because with career changers coming back. So again, like I said, when we're here to help you, either as like an incoming freshman while you're here, after you transfer, as a working professional, career development is a lifelong process. So we're here, and you can always access our services throughout the duration of any of those times within your career development. So thank you for having me. It was a pleasure talking with you and sharing about our services, and we hope to see some new visitors soon. So thank you
Yes,
very
absolutely. I really can't thank you enough, and hopefully we'll get a chance to connect down the line. Maybe we can have one episode down the line for something like very specific in terms of like promoting an event or talking to somebody else, or you and somebody else from your office, and kind of promote certain programs. Now, one thing, just one last question, kind of came to my mind. Is there a relationship? Do you think the people who get engaged, students who actually are engaged in these career services and engaged in the organization that we have on campus, uh, are they? Is there any statistics to back up the fact that they are academically excelling more than the students who do not engage?
I'm not aware of those statistics. I will say in terms of career research, we do know that students who have experience, particularly internships, and then more specifically internships within their individual sector, industry, or career field, those students are more likely to get more job offers, go in at a higher starting salary, and then also get job offers prior to graduation compared to their counterparts who don't engage in career and experiential learning or
Sure.
internships or experience within that sector. So there is that. That probably takes very sophisticated analysis. I'm
Right.
sure there is. I haven't done it for the NLC students. But I would say we can tap into our friends maybe in institutional research as like a long-term. I think that's our goal eventually. But we're in the data collection phase right now. And then, but there's a lot of different factors. Unfortunately, it's hard to decipher that because they could be visiting my office, but they could also be in student organizations. They could also be visiting the advocacy center.
Sure.
They could also be visiting their academic advisor. So that may take a little more sophisticated research
Right.
because there's so many different support services, tutoring that all integrate.
Sure.
It may be hard to tease that out, but I think that could be
Right.
beneficial. Anecdotally, I would say that that probably is the case, but
Yeah.
I don't know the statistics right
I
offhand
think
though.
that could help in their case, certainly. Like it could be the X factor. It could be like the unofficial ranking system. I mean, you have a 3.8 GPA and a 3-point GPA, and this person is engaged in all those things with SGA, with all those things, organizations, and then the student services. They might get the X factor because whoever is going to wind up hiring them, they know that they've been around the track a little bit more. Kind of like in high school, there's a ranking system in high school. Somebody is a 4.0, but he's the captain of the football team, debate team, chess club, whatever the case might be. They might be looked at in a higher ranking than someone who's a 4.0, and they don't get engaged in anything but academics. So that could be our unofficial ranking in terms of distinguishing yourself,
Yes,
and then
and
kind of
that's so
like
true. Employers have said that as well. Now there is some data from employers also expressing the same similar sentiments that GPA in terms of level of importance for hiring, GPA is not as important as these other skills and experience. So oftentimes employers will hire based off of those other experience, internships, other qualities, those career competencies over GPA. Like you said, versus someone who has a very high GPA but has had little engagement. So yes, our professional organization has conducted those surveys and can report that yes, there is some truth to that from what employers are reporting back.
absolutely. And we could just end up talking for another hour. So let's just so again, Mr. Travis, thank you so much. And then again, I really appreciate you taking the time. And then I'll see you around. And then hopefully this will be beneficial to whoever's going to listen to this, and then to the students predominantly, and then making the connections in helping them excel at NLC, and also after they graduate and then they go to get a bachelor degree, and also help them in their career paths down the line. Thank you so much, and I appreciate it. And then we will be talking soon. Thank you.